Okay, my name is Federica, I am 24 years old and I come from Italy and I'm currently studying computing in Scotland. Yes, I do feel it's important. I don't think you need to be hardcore into politics, but at least be aware of, you know, what party has won the election and what has that party done. Does it match with what they said they would do with their principles, etc. So just an awareness of what all the parties stand for and what the politicians themselves stand for. I am registered to vote in the Scottish Parliament election. I cannot register to vote in the EU referendum or the general election. I've actually used the NHS quite a lot in Scotland just because I was sickly. The NHS, I think the NHS is really good. The NHS is a good organisation. I like what it stands for. I like that everyone pays a little bit into it and everyone can benefit for free, rather than having one person pay a lot of money into it like as they need it. I think the NHS at the moment is struggling quite a lot, and I can see it with the waiting times and, you know, what it takes to get referred and people getting back to you, etc. And I think it's not directly the fault of the NHS, it's the fault of cutting the funds that have been cut from the NHS, and they have to make do with what they have. I think the current process, I can understand having a test. I could understand a test that tested, this is hard because the citizenship test is supposed to test the British values, right? And I can understand why they do a test, because if you want to live in a country you need to understand the values of that country, the culture of that country, and, you know, a bit of the history of the country. That's fine, like I can understand that. But the citizenship test is not really that. It's testing your memory and your trivia knowledge. I mean, they have books done specifically for the citizenship test. So you're not reading about the history of the country, you're reading about those things that you need to pass the test. So I think it's not, I can understand the sentiment behind it and why they do it, but I don't think in its current form is a good test. And I mean, I'm sure there are British values, but at the moment I don't think there are values of a country. I think there are more human values. I can understand British culture and understanding the British culture, but when the government says the immigrants have to learn our British values, I don't understand that, because your values should be being nice to people and not being horrible, and that's true for every country that you set your foot in. So I think at its current state it is unfair, because it's just a trivia test that not even people who were born and grow up in this country can pass. A better way of giving citizenship to your citizens would be looking at how much they lived in the country and how much they contributed, rather than were they born here, did they pass the trivia test. I do not think nowadays there is a sense of threat that you would find in, like, back in World War I or World War II. I don't think any country is, I mean, Middle Eastern country are, obviously ISIS is a threat, but it's not a threat in the same way like the US and Russia were a threat to each other in the Cold War. That's because terrorists operate in different ways. You know, they don't flat out declare war to you and then everyone goes to war. They infiltrate your country and then do terrorist attacks. So I don't think there is a threat in the formal sense. But even if you consider ISIS as a threat, I don't think that nuclear weapons are going to help with that. The Trident is going to help with that, because there are plenty of countries in the world that don't have nuclear weapons. In fact, the list of countries that do have nuclear weapons is much shorter than the list that don't. So, I mean, those other countries are doing fine, and honestly, I think Trident is a threat to us because it's managed by humans, and humans are prone to make mistakes. And if you make a mistake with Trident, half of your population of Scotland is just going to straight out die. And you know, knowing that terrorists, the strategy is infiltrating and then, you know, attacking from within, that is a very dangerous thing that I see happening, to be honest. I don't think it's fair because it's based on people don't choose to be born in a country, and it's completely arbitrary to be able to vote in this country just because you were born in it. Like, I think it's unfair that the citizenship is the requirements to be able to vote. Obviously, a person who has lived in the UK for half a year to a year obviously might not be that invested in the politics, but a person who has contributed to the country year after year should be allowed to vote even if they don't have citizenship, because I mean, it should matter where you live and how long you live there, not where you were born. And you know, because no one has control over that, but we have control over where we live. Okay, Nicola Sturgeon is the First Minister at the moment, so what I would tell Nicola Sturgeon is that she, at least in interviews that I've seen, she comes off as a really strong, really feisty and fiery personality, and people seem to dislike that, but personally I really like it because she is constantly butting heads with people, but she doesn't do it to cause animosity. She does it because she genuinely wants what's best for Scotland. So she wants to get the best deal. She wants to make sure Scotland gets to do the most out of the budget that they've given. And you know, when she and Ruth disagree on stuff, you know, they might have a heated debate in the interview or or on live TV and whatever, but at the end of the day you can still see that they don't hate each other, and if they work together they could actually accomplish something really good. And I think Nicola Sturgeon is always open to the possibility of because she always thinks what's best for Scotland, she seems to be more open to the possibility of talking to the opponents and see what they have to say. And I think that's really good because it's inspiring to see a leader, even if she fundamentally disagrees with Ruth on so many things, she still thinks of Ruth as a possible ally. At least that's what it seems like to me. And still wants to hear what when she has to say, etc. And I think she's really inspiring, and she's also inspiring as a leader. I think she gets a lot of girls especially interested in politics and whatnot, and because you know, she's First Minister, there is a place for women in politics. I think there is a place for women in politics anyway, but Nicola Sturgeon does come off as a really inspiring, strong personality. And also I would tell her to not concentrate on the people who hate the SNP, because honestly people hate the SNP for a variety of reasons. They're unionists and they don't want independence, and so they hate the SNP by default. They hate the SNP because it's the SNP. They hate the SNP because it's not left-wing enough. They hate the SNP because it's not right-wing enough. If people want to hate you, they'll find a reason to hate you. So don't concentrate on that. Just go your way, because if you're going to see why people hate you, you're just never going to please anyone.